मिनट रहता है।
Good noon, everyone. Welcome back. This is 11th session of the FDP. Eminent speaker of this session is Professor Rajiv Kumar, coordinator of this FDP. Dr. Rajiv Kumar is presently professor and head, Department of Mathematics, Maharshi Dhyanand University, Rohtak. He has served as a director, Department of Alumni Relations and director at Maharshi Dhyanand University, Rohtak from 2016 to 2020. He has been awarded for his excellence in teaching and research by the Indian Society of Information Theory and Applications in 2018. He has been chairman, members of various academic research bodies of the universities and also of several selection, inspection, screening committees constituted by NEC, UGC, central, state governments, universities. He has vast experience of teaching various undergraduate and postgraduate courses, classes in different departments, universities, and institutions. He has research experience of about 32 years. His areas of interest are reliability modeling, information theory, operations research, biomathematics, and statistical estimation. More than 70 research publications in various national, international journals of repute are to his credit. He has also organized several national and international conferences, seminars, workshops, lectures in the Maharshi Dhyanand University, Rohtak, and members of various advisory committees for such activities in different institutions. He has guided more than 25 PhD MPhil students for their thesis, dissertations work. He is also editor, referee of various reputed journals. With that, I welcome again Professor Rajiv Kumar on the board. Professor Rajiv Kumar, over to you, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Seema Mehra, organizing secretary of this FDP, and my organizing team, who is on the board. Dear participants, today I'm of course acting as a speaker. So you have a choice to ask the question, share the things, and whatever I know, I will try to share with you. In fact, I'm a man of statistics and work on statistics problems, operations search, information theory, as rightly stated by Dr. Seema Mehra. In fact, in the morning session, Professor Jagdish Prasad is also a man of statistics, and he has very much discussed in details various statistical techniques and the analysis method. If I would say I was not sure, I was not confirmed what the topics he is going to take up. But that is no doubt a common part of that. My slides also coincides a little bit of that. But I try to skip those areas. My intention was to share with you various statistical techniques and analysis methods, and then come to the engineering and technological problems where we can apply those things. So I go slide by slide and try to explain the things, and I hope you will enjoy the session and have a useful information. I say that Just I try to share my screen from my end. You may kindly let me know my screen is visible.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Is it visible? Slides are sharing. I once again try it because it is not visible to me, so that I can explain.
Your screen is visible, sir.
Okay, okay. Now it's clear.
Yes, sir, it is clear.
Very much clear. You just tell me wherever I have some problem, voice regarding video, you kindly convey me, Dr. Poonam.
Sure, sir.
Dear participants, I'm just touching upon some statistical techniques, their basic concepts, their ideas, and then I will move to some application part. I have I just give you the overview of my talk. And just giving an introduction, then I will take up statistics and statistical analysis. Of course, I will try to skip those things which has already covered by Professor Jagdish Prasad. And then I will take some statistical analysis, their types, their uses, some statistical analysis methods which are very common, their application in engineering and technology. Then I will try to take some cases. In fact, I have added these cases after listening to the talk of Professor Jagdish Prasad also. So now the statistics is an important branch of mathematical sciences, which is vital for all type of professionals who belong to any field, whether it is engineering side, manager, business analyst, or even in any research. Statistics is a quite common thing. It is a very common word. In fact, whenever you have an abundance of information and you want to have working on multidisciplinary research areas or engineering problems, then the thing is to take decisions. So whenever you want to take a meaningful decision after analyzing the information, then the need of statistics becomes important. In fact, we have various statistical techniques, and these days we are also having very different statistical softwares. Using those techniques and softwares, we can definitely reach to some meaningful decisions. I can say that whether it is any kind of system or any kind of practical problems or marketing problem or business problem, financial problems. So in all situations that some techniques are useful. And if I say specifically for like electronic and technological systems, you see all such systems involve some electronic devices. And those electronic devices uses some sensing and controlling components. And in case of that you lack proper calibration of these devices or do not carry out the performances on the basis of the statistical tools or techniques, then that can lead to some misleading results or hazardous results. So in those situations, application of statistical tests and tests and techniques definitely improves the engineering system or engineering work. In fact, all the engineers, what they do, they take data observation for some physical systems, carry out the analysis of those data, and then on the basis of that, they improve the system, they verify the performance of the system, and of course, they improve the quality of the product also. So, in learning the skill of collecting experimental data from the real processes and then performing the statistical analysis is an effective approach to have better engineered systems. So it is a very basic definition of statistics is the science which deal with the collection, classification, presentation, analysis of interpretation of numerical information or data. And one can say it is a science of data. There are some important quotes which is there just on the screen. It is by first one is by Carl Pearson, you can see the statistics is the grammar of science. And Montgomery and Runders has also very well stated that the field of statistics deal with the collection, presentation, analysis, use the data to make decisions. This is just some application part of that. Solve problems and design products and processes. So it touched upon that earlier basic definition is standard to engineering systems. So if I can say that if your experiment needs some statistics, you ought to have done a better experiment. This is the Rutherford, Ernest Rutherford, who have very well stated. Now in these days, we coined a new term that is called engineering statistics. That engineering statistics is nothing but that combines engineering and statistics, using statistical some scientific method for analyzing the data. Engineering statistics involve data concerning manufacturing processes, maybe component dimensions, tolerances, type of material, fabrication processes, control, etc. What does the statistics does? What are the main function of this? If I just bullet them as it to collect data in proper and required form for any thing or system or any study, to simplify data in a lucid manner, understand that in a very lucid manner that you can have, to provide tools to measure and analyze the results, to help in formulating predictions or in testing of hypotheses, comparison between different factors of different systems or situations. Now, statistical analysis, when you talk about, because you see, usually this term is very common, carry out statistical analysis of this, statistical analysis of that. So this is nothing but a process of inspecting, cleansing, transforming and molding data with the goal of discovering useful information, suggesting conclusion and supporting decision making. So all this, if I just point out, the first thing is collecting data, then the presenting data, then characterizing data, then analyzing data, and then interpreting the data. You see, these things that I have taken as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in fact, the last one is the 5th number. And it also combined with the analysis of the data, analysis and interpretation of the data. This is the most important part. Collecting data that can be a primary, presenting data you can have in a different form, that is secondary data. Now characterizing data, I will explain in detail what does it mean, and then how we can analyze the data. That is the most important part. And you see, data analysis, data mining, these are the very you say common terms that we need to know these days. So this statistics revolves around the data. So one must be clear when you are applying some statistical tool or technique to any situation. You must be clear what the basic things are there. You must be clear about the data. That is the most important thing. This is the raw material. So data is in fact quantities, characters or symbols. That is now. It is typically the results of the measurement of any experiment or situation. It is the information that may be in alphabets, numbers, symbols, figures, audio, visual, whatever. So now all kind of these information or data, processing of data that gives information, we will come to that point also. This kind of data can be further categorized as a qualitative data and a quantitative data. Qualitative data categorically, like you can take gender or sex, male or female, diagnosis of the situation, that is anything in number, that is taken as a qualitative. Or whenever you say order something, you rank something 1, 2, 3, 4 like that, according to their grades or marks or their performance, that lead to qualitative data. So whenever you talk about quantitative data, in fact, there are quantitative data. Qualitative data means you can have a symbol, you can have some counting of the number, you can have a ranking. But when you talk about quantitative, so that is a figure, that is a measurable things, age, weight, whichever you measure, that is there. Second thing, one should be clear about the variables. What variable is nothing but the characteristics of an individual or entity that varies, that we know. Variables can be categorized as a qualitative variable and quantitative variables. The kind of data they are providing to us. So it can be nominal or ordinal. It's measurable, categorical. It can be ordeal. That means in order. That is rank. If it is a quantitative, then we can categorize it as a ungrouped data or group data. One can call it as a discrete or continuous data. So continuous maybe you take as a intervals form, in the interval form. Now, when you talk about statistical analysis, we have to go this step by step. Initially, whatever kind of data you have, that will be treated as a raw data. I am talking about the primary data, which you actually, the investigator actually collect from the field, from the system, from the experiment. That is the raw data. You can arrange this data in some specific order or according to your things. So that is taken as organized data. We can present this data in some tables or figures that get summarized. Making some tools, we can also summarize this. I will talk about those tools. Then we carry out the analysis of that data, and finally we reach to the conclusion. This whole thing is common under the statistical analysis. This can be categorized as a statistics. If I call as a statistics, there are two statistics. Data and the summarized data. That is whatever the summarization of those data things you do have, that is taken as descriptive statistics part. And analysis and conclusion, drawing in conclusion and carrying out the analysis of data, that is called inferential statistics. So statistical analysis and phases of statistics, that is indicated here. And if I then talk about what are the types of statistical analysis, that are basically descriptive analysis and inferential analysis. As in the morning session, first session, Mr. Jagdish Prasad has rightly said. Descriptive analysis deals with the summary measures related to the data. The common things which are very common in this descriptive analysis are the average, range, standard deviation, dispersion, frequency, percentage distribution. In inferential analysis, if this will draw some any kind of decision making or designing the product or processes, make prediction about some system or some processes or some situations, or to carry out quality control or testing, we need to have the knowledge of statistical analysis. There are various methods or techniques, as rightly Professor Jagdish Prasad stated. Now, statistical method or technique, why we need these? Why we require these techniques? In fact, when you take some observation from any phenomena, you know that every phenomena is a random phenomenon. You see, if I talk about the whole systems, we can divide every kind of phenomena in two categories. One is one can say God made, the other one is man made. You can categorize like this. You can categorize this as a deterministic or non-deterministic, random or no random. So, in fact, if you go to the back of every phenomena or experiment, you will find that is a random phenomenon. That is a probabilistic in nature. There is a book by a Russian mathematician, which title is, in fact, the whole world is made on probability. That means uncertainty. So we revolve around uncertainty, right from birth, death, any situation, environment. So most of the phenomena are probabilistic in nature. That is a random phenomenon. So when you carry out any experiment, of course, that is going to be a random experiment, and out of those, if you get some output, some results, some observations, that can have some errors. That is called random errors. So wherever any such situation is there, where it is a random phenomena or random experiment or random errors, then we need to have carry out statistical methods or techniques. Now, what kind of these methods and techniques are? Professor Jagdish Prasad has taken up. If I just listed them as a descriptive analysis method, if you have measurements, the kind of data you are taking up, it is in the form of nominal or ordinal or interval or in the ratio, it accordingly we have analysis method. For nominal data, frequency tables, proportion tables, and more registers are used. Ordinal, we can have median, quartile percent, quintile deviation, percentiles, rank correlation, that kind of thing. And interval, if you have interval in the form of interval data is there, then you can find out arithmetic mean, dispersion, of course, the variance, correlation coefficient, covariance. If it is a ratio form, you can have index, geometric mean, harmonic mean, that way. So it depends what kind of data type you have. One must be clear about the data. Accordingly, we can apply some statistical technique or method. Now we have a bigger classification. We have a classification for all the methods, as in the morning Jagdish Prasad had taken up. You can have a univariate analysis for one variable, bivariate for two variable, and multivariate for multi variables. We can have correlation analysis to just to see a bit how they vary. If we vary one variable and how the other one varies, that kind of thing, correlation analysis. We can have a analysis also that how one variable affects the other one. That is a regression analysis. You can say linear regression or multiple regression, like that kind of thing. Inferential analysis, if you want to understand inferential analysis, because which is the most important thing in whole, if I talk about the statistical analysis part, the phase 1, which is a descriptive analysis, and the phase 2 is the inferential. That is most important. You see, when you go for some clinical trials or clinical some data, or to a doctor, and he give you ask about some test reports. You go to some clinical lab, they test some parameters of your body, and they produce some sheet. That sheet may not be understandable to you, but once it goes to the doctor, he sees and goes through that, he immediately interprets that. He knows those figures, and accordingly he makes the interpretation. If before you have some, say, X-ray or CT scan report, you can't understand as such, just viewing that slides, but doctor can understand. So that part is the inferential part. So to diagnose the systems, any kind of system, then you need to have that inferential statistics tool and technique well versed. So for that purpose, we need to know some terms, basic terms, some preliminaries there are. What is a population? The aggregate or collection of objects, matter, animate or inanimate, investigation you have, that is constitute the population. So it is a large entity, and sometimes it is not possible to study the whole population. Maybe it is a big population, or maybe an infinite population, one can say, or may not be a realistic one. In that situation, sample has to be taken from the population to make some judgment about the population. To make the judgment about the population, we need to have samples. So sample is nothing but a subset of the set. If I say the population is a sample space or set, and from that we taking subset, that is a sample. So observation comes in the sample that give us the idea and judgment about the population. So there, the size of the sample, type of the sample, quality of the sample, that is very important. Sample selection, of course, save time and cost. It helps us to make decision quickly. There are situations where only option is a sample. We cannot consider the whole population. Suppose if crackers are produced from a factory and someone wants to verify the quality of the crackers, that based on the sound, its light, one cannot crack all the bombs. So there need to take some samples. If you prepared some dish and you want to check it whether it is of tasty one or good quality or not, then you need to take some part of this. You cannot eat whole one. If you're checking the quality of bulbs, so you cannot, you say, go the bulbs long way. You cannot check the life of the bulb each and every one. Otherwise, it will be destroyed or spoiled. So you can test few one. So there is a compulsion of samples in that situation. So for any situation, whenever there is a possible to carry out complete enumeration, then sample study becomes very important. So sampling techniques, there are different techniques. One can categorize as a probabilistic sampling technique and non-probabilistic sampling. Why that is so? Because every experiment or phenomena may be deterministic or random. So whenever it is a deterministic, the outcome of the experiment is known in advance. Of course, it have many possible outcomes, and out of that, we know that it is going to happen. Suppose you have a you say box containing say red ball, and if I just say that if I draw a ball with a closed eye, which ball I will get? Of course, that will be red. This is a deterministic situation. So what is the need to close the eye? What is this is a trivial situation, obvious situation, but this is a deterministic experiment. But if there are say 3 color balls, red, blue, and green, and then you close eye and you take one ball, which ball you will get? You are not sure. The uncertainty involves. That is a random experiment. So if you have a coin with having both side head, you toss it, you will get head. It is a deterministic situation. But if you have a coin, fair coin, head and tail side, then you can get either a head or a tail. So that kind of situation, you see, that are in the initial part I had already told you that the random experiments are there. Most of the things are the random, where results known in advance exactly without any chance, then it is a deterministic, otherwise it is a random. And accordingly, the probability sampling is. So probability sampling is quite common. There are different kind of probability sampling where the chances of selecting the samples are different, or we are not sure which element is going to be selected in the sample. In that situation, it is a probabilistic sampling or probability sampling. There are different kinds: simple random sampling with replacement or without replacement, stratified random sampling, systematic sampling, cluster sampling. So in the morning, Professor Jagdish Prasad has taken up these things, so I'm just skipping to this. Non-processings are like convenience sampling, judgment sampling, snowball, quota sampling, like that. But when you do sampling, because why I'm coming to this point, because whenever you want to carry out statistic analysis, I have taken a term random error. So when you carry out statistic analysis, there can be some kind of errors. So those errors has to be taken care when you want to apply a particular technique. So one is a sampling error. This is the error which arises when you take sample. So sampling error may be inherited. It is unavoidable. It is out of the control of human beings. Sampling errors comes because of the sampling ways, sampling technique, sampling method. So that depends upon what kind of sampling you are using. But non-sampling errors are those errors which are, you say, man-made, which when you write, suppose you take a sample, you are writing down the observation, and there is some mistake while writing or typing or editing or coding, that kind of error is taken as a non-sampling. So the errors which inherited comes out because of sampling procedure or technique, that is a sampling error, and which come out because of your mistakes or errors or decodings, that is non-sampling. Non-sampling error can be minimized or can be zero, negligible. we can end it, we can stop it with proper editing, writing, coding. But sampling error can be minimized, but it cannot completely remove them. Other term is a parameter and a statistic. The constant or characteristics of the population are taken as a parameter, whereas the constant and characteristics of the sample which you have taken from the population, their characteristics we call them as a sample. We just associate with that sample word. Sample mean. If in the population case you are taking mean, arithmetic mean, like say arithmetic mean, then in the sample case it becomes a sample arithmetic mean. Sample variance, sample median. So whatever the characteristics or constant you are taking for the sample, that is say with the sample word sample. Now sampling distribution. When you take a sample from the population, you are taking a random sample, probability sample. So that random sample, you can take many samples from the population. Suppose you have in a population, say n items. So when you take a sample of size, say small n, that is a population, a set containing n element, and you are taking a subset containing small n element. You see how many samples we can draw. Accordingly, we can have so many samples depending upon the size of the sample, depending upon the size of the population. If population is infinite and you are selecting a sample of say small n, so this can be a subset 2 power n samples. So then every sample has some kind of randomness, their values, their statistic. So that statistic is a random variable. For example, I'm just looking into the height of say persons, or a average of the observation which come out of from a particular machine. Then in that situation, we need to know what is the statistics you are your interest. Say I'm interested for the mean. You may be interested for the variance. You may be interested for the median. You can be interested for the maxima. You may be interested for the range. So the first thing is that we decide the statistic. What statistic you want, and then the pattern for different sample, the value for it's for different sample. So if there are many samples, of course you are going to give different value of statistic. So this statistic will be a random variable because the samples are random variable. Random situation comes from a random phenomena. So therefore the statistics is a random variable and it has some kind of distribution. That is the probability distribution, of course. We call this as a sampling distribution of the statistic. So when you take a statistics, it has its own average value. We call it as a sample average value or mean of the statistic, arithmetic mean of the statistic. So we can have various statistics for statistics itself. If you take the variance or standard deviation of the statistic, it is known as a standard error. These are some terms which is commonly used because it relates to the statistical technique or methods which you employ. The other thing is inferential analysis method, where we make inferences about the data. So that is a branch of mathematics or statistics that is known as a statistical inference. Statistical inference is a branch of statistics which deal with making judgment about the population on the basis of the sample drawn from that population. If you have a population, if you draw samples and on the basis of sample you make some judgment or interpretation about the population, that study comes under the statistical inference. It has two parts. One is statistical estimation and the other is testing of hypothesis. Now, in both of these things, we need to know these terms, that is population, sample, parameter, statistics, sampling distribution, standard. These must be known when you want to understand these things. And these things are used in the analysis of the systems. Any engineering or technological system or improvement or performances of the system, then need to know these terms. Now, population term is quite common. As I already stated, what is the population? Now, what is the statistical estimation? Now, to get the unknown parameter of the population, if you want to study to get the value of parameter of the population, what is the parameter? Characteristics of the population. And for the characteristics of the population, you draw the sample, say random samples, and on the basis of random sample, you want to get the value of parameter of the population. Keep in mind, a population can have different parameters, and you see, you are focusing on a single parameter. You may be interested for a population, for example, you are maybe interested in considering its mean, maybe its variance, maybe its maximum value, maybe its range. So depending upon the parameter, you take corresponding statistic from the sample and make interpretation. So this process will be known as the statistical estimation. So statistical estimation, if you write in words, I can say that to get unknown value of the parameter with the help of statistic. And we know statistics comes from the sample, and samples are taken from the respective population or the population under study. So has some chances of being selected in the sample if it is a random sample. Now, getting parameters, making judgment about the parameter, getting the value of parameter on the basis of statistics is the statistical estimation technique. There are different techniques in statistical estimation, types in statistical estimation also. Of course, I will come to those techniques which are different in these also. That is a point estimation. Whenever you want to estimate or obtain the value of the parameter, maybe not single, it may be in the range, in the interval, that comes under the interval estimation. I'm just giving you the outline of these things. The techniques or methods. A point estimation draws inferences about a population by estimating the value of unknown parameter using a single value or a point. Single value or a point. In interval estimation, we have interval of values of the parameters. Of course, these are obtained on the basis of statistics. Both of these, whether it is a point estimation or interval estimation, we are using statistics. So on the basis of statistics, we are making judgment about the population parameter. If it is a single value, then it is a point estimator. If you are getting a range of value or interval of values, then interval estimator. Some common terms which are used in these estimation part is estimator. Estimator is nothing but a rule or a method or technique used to obtain the unknown value of the parameter. What technique you are using? What formula you are using to estimate unknown value of the parameter of the population? That is called estimator. And whatever the value you get out of that, that is called estimate. And there, when you make unknown value of the parameter known on the basis of sample, then that estimate may have some errors. So the mean error or expected error of the estimator, we compute by, we write it as a bias, expected value of theta cap. If theta is the, say, let me say theta is the parameter and theta cap is its estimate. So expected value, that is the expectation concept is used. The difference of this, the mean value of, one can say mean error, mean expected error, that can also be written as the expected value of theta cap minus theta. This is called bias. We need to have lesser bias if you want to have a better estimator. So whenever you compute estimator for a parameter, then we want to have that estimator which give you the accurate value of parameter. If parameter is unknown, we want to like to have that value. For example, if in a class, say there are say 20 students, and if I treat this as a population, of 20 students. Of course, it is a very small population, finite population, realistic population. And I can observe their heights. We can pen down, we can compute their average. But if I take as a population, I just draw a sample of say 4. Because every time 20 students are present in the class, it may not be possible or it not be possible to measure their height. I just select any 4 student out of that. How many way we can do? You see, any one of you. Size of the population is 20. I'm selecting sample students of 4 students out of that. So you see, I'm audible? I'm audible to all?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You are audible.
So I'm just want to have from the participant side how many sample we'll have. Accordingly, we will be having statistic. Accordingly, we will measure the error and the bias of the estimator also. So therefore, whenever you obtain the estimator which is based on the sample values, sample observations, we want to have minimum error, minimum bias. But this term shows us the efficiency of the estimator also. Now, another term which is used is mean square error. Bias is, you see, a term which is can be positive or negative. We call it a positive bias or negative bias. Depending upon a spectral value of theta gives higher theta, the left side or the right side of theta. So accordingly, the spectral value of theta cap minus theta may be positive or negative. So positive bias or negative bias. But if you want to ignore this, we get the absolute values. We take theta cap minus theta whole square. It is a positive value always, and we call it as a mean square error. Mean square error is nothing analogy of that variance you talk about. And there is a relationship between bias and the mean square error, and that is nothing but one can say that MSE, mean square error, of any estimator is the square of the bias plus variance. If bias is 0, then mean square error and the variance are the same thing. So we like to, for any system, that the bias should be nil. Bias should be 0. You know, you might be aware that the best measure of scatteredness is variance. Best measure of standard deviation and square of the standard deviation is variance. So when you want to select a good estimator, keep in mind these 4 things: one, unbiasedness, consistency, efficiency, and sufficiency. I'm not going to detail of that. Unbiasedness means that this should be bias should be 0. You should select that estimator in which expected value of theta cap minus theta should be 0. That is unbiasedness. That estimator will be called unbiased. Consistent estimator means every estimator depend upon the sample, and if you increase the size of the sample, as in the morning Professor Jagdeep Prasad said, it depends that what kind of sample you are taking. If sample is large, you have different test. When sample is small, then you have different tests or different tools, different techniques. So whenever you take large sample, that the estimator should converge to the parameter. That is the consistency. And if estimator whose variance is less is taken as a more efficient. If you have a different estimator and you want to select a best one out of that, so you have to see the variance of the estimator. And which one is having lesser variance, that is a better one. Sufficiency is the thing which is related to an estimator where we wish that the estimator should contain all information about the population parameter. So any estimator which contain all the information about the population parameter, we call to have is a sufficient estimator. So if you have any estimator which is satisfying these all 4 things, that is taken as a good, or even one can say the best estimate. You see, there are very few estimators which satisfy all 4 things. In the normal population case, sample mean amounts to be the satisfy 3 condition, in that technique, that is to taken as the best estimator. We have different method of estimation also. Very common I have written here: maximum likelihood method of estimation, method of moments, method of least square, method of minimum variance and method of minimum chi-square. I'm not going to detail of that. Just I'm outlining the different techniques or methods. Testing of hypothesis is another way. Here we are not getting we not wish to have the exact value of the parameter, but we want to make some interpretation, some claims, some guess about the parameter value on the basis of the sample. So on the basis of the gathered sample, if you claim about system or process parameter or their behavior value, or compare your values or compare your claims with the actual parameter, that comes under the umbrella of testing of hypothesis. How does we carry out this testing hypothesis? The first thing is the formula. We have to formulate the hypothesis. Then we have to collect the data for testing that hypothesis. And on the basis of the sample, collected data, we make about the judgment about the hypothesis, whether it is acceptable or not acceptable. That is rejected. But there is a procedure to carry out this thing. I will let you know in next slide, coming slides. You see that when you make a decision about a hypothesis on the basis of the sample, there are the chance involved. You may reject it or may accept it, but every way there is a chances are involved because of the sampling error. So when you take a sample, two kind of errors are likely to be there. One is sampling error, another is a non-sampling error. Non-sampling error can be 0, but sampling error cannot be 0 because it is out of human control. However, it can be minimized. So that sampling error plays a role everywhere. So when you are selecting a good estimator, you see that we are trying to reduce that sampling error. If sampling error is less, then we are going to get a better estimator. Similarly, in testing of hypothesis, if the sampling error is less or negligible, you are having a better decision about the hypothesis, better judgment about the hypothesis. So random error is again playing a role. Now the sampling error had to be minimized. That is the target. And whenever you apply any statistical technique to any system, keep in mind, try to find out, try to observe and select those techniques where the sampling error is minimum. And of course, we call those techniques are the better techniques where the sampling error is less. Now, how we carry out this statistical analysis, testing of hypothesis, it is also called test of significance. We first of all define a hypothesis, write some alternative to this, which is complementary to this. Then we fix a side of the test, select the sample from the population, and then compute the test statistic. Test statistic is nothing but the statistics which is used for the testing purpose. Basically, one can say it is a estimator kind of estimator. We compute test statistics on the basis of the sample observation. Then we apply decision rule, and then we have about the hypothesis, whether it is to be accepted or rejected. Because it is a very big area, testing of hypothesis, just outlining that we can have this kind of testing. And accordingly, we have different tests. All kind of test, we call it testing of hypothesis. The tests are used, test statistic is used, that is taken as a test, statistical test. Statistical test can be parameter or non-parameter. Parametric test and non-parametric test, these are two classification for this. Parametric tests are used for whenever you are looking for the guess about the parameter of the population, judgment about the parameter of the population. Their parametric tests are used. Here we make some assumption about the population from where the sample is drawn. Even if its distribution is not known, we make some assumptions. Generally, we make assumption that the population from the sample is drawn is a normal population, that is following a normal distribution. There are some situations where we cannot make guess about the population, or we do not like to have some assumption about the distribution of the population. Then we can apply non-parametric test. Non-parametric test is on required. So it depends whether you want to have parametric test or non-parametric test. They have their plus or minus points for both of them. So there are many tests, these statistical tests. Accordingly, I have listed here some popular tests. You have might heard about these. Parametric tests are very common. One are Z test, T test, and F test. In the first session, Professor Jagdish Prasad rightly said that it depends on what size of the sample you do have, what kind of parameter you want to have. So it depends upon the parameter, it depends upon the size of the sample. Accordingly, you have to apply the test. Every test is not fitted for every situation. One has to be very particular. One should be clear about the first thing, the parameter, then population, size of the sample, and then comes to the type of selection of this test. Z test is used for large population, large sample size, for testing the mean, whether it is for a single population or multiple population, two populations. T test is used for small sample situation. F test is for the comparison of variance. Non-parametric tests are very long list also. Of course, there are parametric, many more parametric tests are mentioned there. Non-parametrics are chi-square test. Sir Jagdish Prasad has explained about that. Sign test, run test, minion test, U test, PS test, S test, and so on. So every test has different situations to apply. So whenever you apply any statistical test to any data, to any situation, you must be clear about its requirement. Every test cannot be applied in all situations. So one must be clear about the requirement of that test, condition of the test, when it can be employed. So you see, I have in the table given some non-parametric tests and parametric tests. If you have a one group or nominal data is there, you have to take care of the data also, what kind of data you have. That is a nominal or ordinal, whether it is a quantitative or qualitative. One group it is there, you can apply chi-square goodness of fit test. If it is ordinary data, then in the same situation you have to apply Wilcoxon sign rank text. If it is a parametric situation, then you can apply one group T test. Two unrelated groups, if there are, this is the case one group. If there are two groups, two populations, two samples, two situations you want to compare, then you can apply chi-square test, Wilcoxon rank sum test or Mann-Whitney test. For small samples, T test. If it is a related group, like McMahon test, Wilcoxon and Rex and pair test, Sykes-Picot T test. If there are K groups, K populations, or K samples, you want to make a comparison of that or testing of that, then chi-square test is also there, Wallis test is there, you can apply ANOVA. K related groups are there, then you can apply FM sample test, Friedman masked sample, or ANOVA with repeated measurement. You see, in every situation, they have different tests. So one must be clear about the kind of data you have, the parameter you are interested for, number of population, size of the sample, and accordingly you have to select the test. If you are not properly selecting the test or a tool or technique, then results can be misleading. You see, in engineering and technological systems, so many statistical techniques or methods are being used. These tests, apart from these things that I have just mentioned you, there are just listing the things which is very common, you might be aware about that. System stochastic modeling analysis, design of experiment in the morning, Professor Jagdish Prasad has explained about this. Statistical quality control, maybe a process control or product control. One can say sampling plan, live testing plans, control charts, that comes under statistical quality control. It can be probabilistic design to improve the better design, so having better architect. That's which we use probabilistic design. Stochastic mechanics, we will talk about that. Reliability engineering, that you want to engineer system which have more reliability, more reliable one. These days we are using the word techniques, software reliability, better softwares with the work for a longer period of time, live testing for the experiments, for the situation, for the samples, for the individuals, chain point analysis. These are all statistical techniques which are very common, very popular. I have just listed those on. Coherent structure theory, degradation model analysis, fractal dimension and estimation. In the first lecture, Professor Renuchuk also discussed about the fractals. So those things, when you want to apply on the engineering systems and you want to estimate their values, where we need to have these techniques. In IT sectors, information, cryptography, information theory and coding theory, load sharing systems, precedence testing, tolerance interval and tolerance region, statistical thermodynamics, statistical quantum mechanics. These all are the methods or technique. They are their own self. In each of them, you can find the books in the library. So there is a lot of things to explain in each one of them. Anyone who is interested, they can go for these things. So you see, different statistical techniques are applied to a computer system. I want to explain the thing with the first one only. Taking care of the time constraint, I quickly move to the first thing, which is very common, and this is also an area of my specialization also. Stochastic modeling analysis of the system. We call it a system stochastic modeling analysis. To have reliable systems, to have better system, or a system with a lower size, smaller size, and a system having lesser cost, more efficiency, more performance, better performance. That kind of thing we use to in system stochastic modeling analysis. So one must be clear about the concept of probability. So because once you are going to apply the concept of reliability for any system, you must be clear that I have already explained to you. There is a term which is random variable. You are very much clear about this. I'm just skipping these things. These are common terms. These are the distributions, probability distributions, which are commonly used in reliability engineering, system reliability modeling. You see, this thing is also applied to medical system, also biomedical systems, biosciences. There we call it as a survival analysis. So these are the distributions, discrete distribution and continuous distribution, which are very commonly used in stochastic modeling. The technical term which is related to this is the stochastic processes. In fact, stochastic process is a family of the random variables having some index, say time or a distance or some other parameter. So if you are having any phenomena or any system, it can have different random variables. And if you just take class of those random variables together that constitute a family, that is called stochastic process. So every stochastic process is characterized by two things. One is a time structure and another is a state space. At different time, you can have a different value of phenomena, and that value represents the state space. So time slot, time epoch, and corresponding the situation of the phenomena, the value of the phenomena, out of the phenomena, output of the system, that constitutes the state space. So X is the state of the system at time t0, and if I call E is a set of all possible states of the system that it can achieve, then in probabilistic sense, probability that t0 t is the probability that the system at time t0 is in this particular state X, and T pass into another state E. This is a probability which is known as a stochastic process. This structure, probabilistic structure, is known as a stochastic process in mathematical sense. There are different kinds of stochastic processes. Markov process, based on the Markovian theory, Bach-Death process, Weisha process. In fact, Markov process are all those stochastic processes which follows Markovian property. And Markovian property is that the future state of the system is not affected by the past, however it depends upon the present. So that Markovian property, if any stochastic process has, that is called Markov process. And Markovian process techniques are used in different engineering systems. Non-Markovian techniques are also used. So it depends on what kind of situation the system has, whether it is following a Markovian property or not. Accordingly, we have stochastic process. In stochastic process, we can select the birth-death processes, where the discrete state we have, and similarly, we can have a Poisson process. I'm just giving the outline of these. So I have just explained what is a stochastic process. Stochastic process we can write mathematically also. A sequence of trial x1, x2, x3, xn is said to constitute a Markov process if it satisfies the following three conditions. Each outcome belongs to the finite set of E's known as a state space of the system, and any outcome Ej at the jth trial is defined as the state Ej of the system at time j. The outcome of any trial depend at most upon the outcome of the immediately preceding trial. Not upon any previous outcome. This is a Markovian concept. In that situation, it is called single step transition. The process has a set of initial probabilities. If these three things are there, then trial sequence of trial x1, x2, x3, xn is said to constitute a Markov process. It is basically a part of this is a Markovic chain. Markov chain is a collection of random variables where the index value is 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Discrete value. In that situation, we can have a Markov chain. So again, you can say that having the property that given the present, the future is conditionally independent of the past. We can write this mathematically also. Probability that xn is equal to k given x1 all previous state is equal to probability that it is dependent on the current state pjk. Similarly, we can define the both that process, the discrete space notice it Markov process, in which the transition are restricted to neighboring state. We are not jumping, we are not transiting to many other different states. A system can move to the next state, not to the another state, immediately neighboring state. Then the birth-death process. Here the process from at any say time tn can move to tn plus 1 or tn minus 1 state. That is the situation. So the number of jobs in a queue with a single server and individual arrival, not in bulk arrival. That is an example of birth-death process. Poisson process is stochastic process in which these three things are satisfied. Probability that exactly one occurrence in time, small time t, delta t, let me call. There is a no occurrence in small interval. Probability that there is no occurrence in small interval is 1 by the lambda delta t, lambda in place of lambda it is shown I. Letter is not shown here. Probability that more than one occurrence in small interval, it is 0. That means that in a very small interval of time, there is one and only one possible outcome, and it does not depend upon the previous outcome. If that kind of stochastic process you do have, that is known as a Poisson process. And this name basically corresponds to the Poisson distribution also. Because the distribution, if you take here the number of arrival or number of things happen, if you work out the distribution of that, will come out to be a Poisson distribution. Example of this Poisson process is a customer arriving in a bank, or number of packets of the things arriving to buffer transition communication systems, all received in a mobile phone. These are all the example of Poisson process. Here nothing lambda, I had Greek letter lambda, is a Poisson process is the average number of events per unit of time that occurs. Now why we develop models? How we develop the models? Let me come to those things. Stochastic models are developed on the basis of the information revealed from any phenomena of the system. First thing is the information. First thing is the investigation. Then to write up those things into mathematical framework, in a mathematical model, we need to have some assumption. So you make some assumption to convert that model into a mathematical formulation. One can also call it as the operation search model, OR models. What we do in OR models? We investigate the system, we consider all the parameters, all the constant, all the variables, and we model that situation into a mathematical framework. That kind of thing. And we need to have some assumption, we need to have some notations. So we write those things in a mathematical formulation, and then we consider all possible situations of the system. We propose some alterations for that system to have a better situation, better outcome, better performance. So that can be in terms of their performance measure or in terms of cost effectiveness. So we call performance measure and cost effectiveness measure. We can compare different models. Once you see initial stage, when you develop a model for any situation, you may not have all the parameters involved. You have not taken proper function, mathematical formulation of that, mathematical framework of that. The initial model may not be so good, but after observing the performance and fitting the model to the system, taking care of all the possible parameters and the variable, you can improve upon, considering all possible states of that. So it is a continuous process, dynamic process. You go on having a better and better model. You might be aware that in a meteorologistic department, which call the weather forecasting models. Initially, long back, if you think about, say, 20 years ago, our forecasting models in weather department, weather models were not so good. They were so accurate. Over the years, after fitting different models, having supercomputers, using information and data of many years, different places, different environment, atmosphere pressure, temperature, humidity, and many other parameters, taking care of all those variables and parameters which affect the weather of particular area. We have a better model these days, and we can quite accurately judge the weather of a particular situation, particular place. Whether it will be a rainfall, on what date, on which time, we have reached to some accuracy. And this is a very continuous process. So whenever you fit a model to any situation, it may not be at first time having a better accuracy, but to go on fitting model successively, you can have a best model. Now, what we do in analysis of the models. The first thing is the understanding of the system and their operations, collect relevant information of the data, then compute, estimate various parameters involved that is from the data. Then you develop the mathematical model, write mathematical equations. These two things can be merged itself. In mathematics, we combine these two. Then find out the solution of the equation you have written down, you have written, and compute with respective statistical measures. If it is a system reliability, system analysis, system stochastic analysis, in that situation, we are interested to find reliability, availability, and performance. We carried out those things, and then finally, we make interpretation on the basis of that model. System stochastic model is quite used in engineering systems. It is basically a development of stochastic models for the different systems, taking care of its performance and cost effectiveness. What are the objectives behind this is to develop model for the existing and proposed situation of the system, to compute various measures of system effectiveness and performance, to enhance the reliability of the system, of course taking care of its design, to improve the availability and other measures of the system effectiveness, carried out the trade-off between the performance and the cost, optimize the balance between the reliability and profit out of the system, obtain various cutoff points, and compare the various different models. There are different techniques are used. Maybe probabilistic approach, Markov, semi-Markov process technique, regenerative point technique, passive relations equation technique, differential difference equation, simulation technique, Boolean approach, fuzzy approach, empirical graphical analysis. There are many approaches, many techniques. Now, what measures we are interested for the system analysis? We may be interested for the first passage time, mean sojourn time, mean time to system failure, relate to the reliability and survivability of any system. Mean uptime, mean downtime of the system, that is availability. Busy period of the repairman, service or clinic or factory or workshop facility. Expected number of inspection, diagnose, maintenance, congestion, treatment, repair, replacement. Expected number of visits of the mechanic, repairman, doctors, or managers, whatever you call, or service facility. And then profit occurred in terms of systems manufacturer point of view and the customer point of view or user point of view. I just give you some examples to wind up my task. I consider stochastic model for some engineering and technological system. I take two cases. The first case is for industrial process water system. You see, stochastic modeling can be done for any mechanical system, electromechanical system, communication system, or any system on which you think that there is uncertainty. We can have observation, we can model them. Some students have worked on mechanical system, some are working on electromechanical system, communication theory, network theory. The students are working, and some of them have already submitted their thesis. If I take an example of mechanical system, and it is a situation of a thermal power plant located in Panipat in Haryana. It is just nearby here, 70 kilometers away from this place. The candidate visited that thermal power plant, observed various systems, and on those systems we applied stochastic modeling approach, and we have evaluated their performance as well as the cost analysis. So what questions we have asked from there, what data we have collected, what is the design architecture of the system machines, how many components units are involved in the system, how the system operates. These are the observational part, investigation part of the system. First step, how long it remain in operation, what is the different type of failure occurred in the system, what is the maintenance, repair, replacement policy, how long it takes to get repaired, what are the costs involved in different maintenance, repairs, replacements, how many repairmen or service facilities are involved to carry out the remedies of the problems, how many spares, inventories, redundancies are there, and what kind of those are there. We have observed various faults in thermal power plant. I have listed them. We have listed them, taking their duration, their cost, their type, their remedies. Whatever the data we got from the company, from the record, registers, we have listed them. You see, this is an example, this is a real example. This was a system thing. This is if a person who belongs to thermal power plant and teaching these papers, he might be very well versed that this can be. We have to understand this system, of the working of this system, the components, spares, whatever the thing is involved. It takes around 6 to 7 months, sometime a year, for a student to understand. Mathematical background student has to understand these things. So these are the water system. We have so much things, data we have, date-wise data we have collected for those systems. We have estimated the parameters. Because the population, you see, what is the population is the observation we get from this system. And that observation for this system is treated as a sample values. Because the system goes for a long years, many years. We are just selecting some samples. On the basis of the sample, we have estimated the parameters. So parameters estimated are like this. How many faults are there? What are the chances of a fault, particular type of fault in what system? So we have computed these things. And then after computing these estimators, we have developed the models, and then we carry out the performances of those models. So in the first situation, I'm taking two type of redundant subsystems and possibility of improper repair. So these are the observations we have made there. I just listed their observation in technical term also. Someone interested, he can go through this. This paper is already published. We make some assumption for mathematical frame, for the mathematical framework of this. All faults are self-announcing, and many of things we could not judge from there. We just ask them. We do not have such records, but we have to take some assumption accordingly. These are some assumptions that we have taken for that system. All faults are self-announcing. There is a single repair facility. The priority for repair is a given. So you see, when you develop the first model for any situation, you need to have number of observations and number of assumptions. Okay, you are taking it as a first trial, and doubt it is a little tricky, complex sometimes to model for the realistic situation. So we need to have some assumptions, and we need to have some notations also. On the basis of that, I have built one model for this. This is a state transition model, and one can say it is a Markov model using the concept of Markov chain. You see here, the boxes shows the different states. The circle represent up state, hexagon represent partial failed state, and square or rectangle represent the failed state. These are the different state in which the system transit over a period of time. Then we take another example where we have taken some other facilities, other positions, provision of non-switching and online repair. You see, when you observe a system, then you can take care of its one situation. Accordingly, you can model it, and you go on adding with the successive development of the model. You go on adding the different situations so that you can have a general model. So that way, we have taken care as a non-switching and online repair in minor faults. Again, on the basis of that, we have some notation and we developed a model. Because I cannot take up all the things in depth, these. I'm just outlining the thing that how this technique is useful. This is another model, taking care of more situations. So on, we are going developing all model for this situation, thermal power plant. It's working for, especially for the water process system, because now in thermal power plant, we have many systems. You cannot take all system together. So we have taken water process system. You can, somebody has taken capacitors, somebody takes different way. You can, different persons are working on this area. To carry out the analysis, we need to have some probabilistic distributions also, because for the things which you do not know at what time it is going to happen, we have taken exponential distribution. That is assuming that the repair rate, inspection rate, that following constant rate parameters, and accordingly we have the exponential distribution carried out the graphical analysis. Mean time to system failure versus minor fault for different value of repair of major failures. So this given us a conclusion that how long system is reliable with a different value of the failures. Similarly for other parameters. So this is kind of thing we have taken for mean time to system failure, now for availability. We have stand for availability, expected of time with full capacity. We have categorized the system with working in a full capacity or not working in a full capacity, in a down capacity. That it is not working with the full efficiency, full output. So what happens in that situation for different parameters? This is expected uptime with the repair rate. If you improve the repair rates, availability goes on this, and the repair rate is corresponding to non-redundant subsystems. So this kind of analysis, this is a graphical analysis we have carried out for mean time to system variable, mean uptime, mean downtime of the system, and then the cost factors, profit. At what point this system has to control, what failure rate should be there, how to control this system to have a better performance and lesser cost. So we have taken this cutoff point. If the failure rate is less than this, then performance is better, cost is, and the system is profitable. These are different cutoff points. Another situation for the other parameter, and so on. This is the cases where I had considered for water process system. Let me take another example of one of my thesis of my students who have submitted thesis, awarded on mobile communication system. We have taken data from Vodafone company. So to understand the concept, you must be aware about the communication system, what component is involved. We have gone through this: transmitter, source, encoder, channel, decoder, receiving, receiver or sync. This is the process of any communication system. We have taken now in communication system, we can have different communication system. We have taken mobile communication system for the mobiles. We had taken care of the mobile concepts, how the tower works, how the network works. This is just a view. This involved different, you see, BTS, BSc, MSc, and how many these are and how these works. What are the components involved in these? In fact, this is a hardware software system. Professor Madhu Jain had talked about this hardware software system. Mobile communication system is a hardware software system. We have carried out so we have taken the BTS, but how the BTS works, what are these components, what are the chances of its failures, how it can be improved, what are these repairs, what are these maintenance. These are some view. For BSc also, base station controls, how it works, mobile MSC, mobile switching centers, how it works, what are the observations. Then we collected the data from Vodafone Space Limited located at Ranchi, Jharkhand. We visited there, collected data because you cannot have a real data all the time. To model the system with real data is a very difficult task because we do not get real observations, real data. So we have taken this. This was the block diagram from that system. This is for BTS only. SC is different, MSC is different. Now we have taken only this BTS. This is a, you can see what kind of BTS has a problem, major faults and minor faults. We have listed those faults. Then taken observation on these also. But beside this, BTS involve another thing, that is traffic congestion. The concept of queuing in communication system is very prevalent, very important. That is there. So we have taken all the observation on the system. Then our papers published on this thing already. One can go through this. This kind of data we have from one company. Data is there for different failures, different type, duration. Then we have taken estimation that parameters, different rate, failure rate, repair rate, hardware faults, software faults, how the software fault is affected by hardware fault, because we know hardware and software interaction failures are also there. And machine failures are also there. So that is taken care. And we have computer estimators. Then we have find out these measures for the system performance. Mean time to system failure, factor of time, degradation time, congestion time, busy periods for repairmen for different considerations. Then we had developed the model. Let me show you this. Of course, we need to have some assumptions, notation for that. And also we have to develop some, write down some assumptions. On the basis of that, this is the initial model. Then we have carried out analysis of this graphically. We made some conclusions. That what conclusion we get out of this modeling, the analysis. How mean time to system failure for a spectrum of time varies with different parameters. How the performance varies with different parameters. How the cost factors relate to different parameters. These observations we have pointed out, and this paper is published. Another model. Now here we have taken care of hardware, software faults, common cause failure, and congestion of coal also. This is a step ahead of this model. Then you see, when you go on compare modeling them, you see we can compare these models. Which model is more suitable for which situation? For going to approach to a holistic approach, to go for a general model, we need to compare these models. And of course, numerical computation, graphic analysis of this is also done. After going through, we have this. Then we compare these models. I just highlight the comparison of the water process system model that I have shown to you. We can compare them. Which model is better in terms of reliability? Which model is better in terms of availability? Which model is profitable? So this kind of thing can do through graphic analysis, and under what situation, in which situation, which model is giving more of time, expected of time, and which one is giving less expected of time. We can have these cutoff points. Model 1 is better than model 2 whenever lambda 1 is greater than 0.5. Model 2 is better than model 1 whenever lambda 1 is this, for different value of lambda 3. Lambda 3 is a fault. So for different parameters, different graphs are plotted for different performance measures. Accordingly, we can make the judgment about the system performance for different parameters. Now, whatever I have covered, this thing, some points I have taken from Wikipedia and many others, link, web links. Some papers are already published in this area. The interested who are interested to apply statistical techniques to engineering and technological system, they can refer to these books. These are very common books, and standard books are available from the market of Amazon or Available. library also. These concepts, whatever I've taken here, they are given in detail in these. And some of you might be teaching from this books also. Some advanced books are also there. Is taking care of like this probability, reliability, and statistical method engineering designs. How these things are used in engineering design. How statistical technique are used in transportation engineering. How different statistical techniques are used in quality control and physical sciences. And Balakrishnan, this is a very standard book. You can go. These are some books I have just for you. This is all about derivation with you, presentation. I will be happy if you have some queries to ask.
Thank you,
I
sir.
think I'm well in time.
Any question from the audience? Yes, participant, please.
Yes, participant. I think it is not the lunch time. You must ask something if you are interested in. I will be happy to answer those queries. Asking the query, either you have understand the complete thing or you are not aware about anything. So anyways, any queries?
I think there is
You may
no
write down in
query,
the
sir.
chat box.
So if you don't ask, you can write on the chat box. Okay, sir. I think there is no query.
I think.
Professor Rajiv Kumar talked about the statistical and statistical analysis, its types, and using of statistical analysis. Further, he also talked about sampling types, then sampling error that comes due to the during collecting of data, then non-sampling error that comes due to the editing and writing of the data. Then after that, he talked about estimator. For best estimator, mainly we have four types of characteristics: unbiasedness, consistency, efficiency, and sufficiency. Then he talked about testing of hypothesis. Actually, sometimes we all have data, but we don't know for which type of data we use which one testing. So every test depend upon the types of data as well as on the size of the data. Then he talked about stochastic process. He discussed about mainly three process: macro, birth, death, question process. And after that, he also discussed analysis of model, mainly four types of model: mechanical thermal power point, water process system, then mobile communication system, and then hardware software problem. Thank you so much, sir, for a nice and informative lecture.
Participant, I think you might have gone through this. My general advice to all the participants who are here, who are interested in research area, this research area, they may contact me or email me. I will be happy, and I feel that this is the most applied area that you can apply, you can work on. Considering different system, different situation, different phenomena, you can carry out these answers. And this is a very important area. And these days, I would like to tell you that during the corona pandemic situation also, the stochastic modeling techniques and processes was quite useful. And if you are aware, observations of the patient fatality rate and the prevalence of the disease, taking care of all these observations, the corona disease modeling was done stochastically, and some models were found to be very realistic, come out very well fitted, and they can estimate the future results of this pandemic situation. One of the popular Indian IIT's model was there, and also Professor Ernie S. Rao from USA who has joined over here. He has also developed a model and published. That was found to be quite great up to the mark. So thank you for all patiently listening to my words as a speaker. So now onward, I'll be there as a coordinator again. Thank you very much. Thank you, Poonam. Thank you, Seema, and all the organizing members along with me. And especially, I thank all the participants for patiently listening to this. Thank you very much. And now is a lunch break for all of you. Please enjoy your lunch. And after the lunch, we join together today's last session, and Professor Sangeeta Kansal from Delhi Technical University will join us and having new technique for you. Thank you all this time.
Once again, sir, I want to say some words. Sir.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
Poonam.
I would like to thank you our hardworking HOD who gave such nice presentation, and also he inspired us time by time. Thank you so much, sir, being there every time. Thank you so much, sir, again. Sir, your mic is off.
Thank
Please
you, Poonam,
unmute you.
for these words, and you are doing well. And go on, continue like this. All the team, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, dear participant, I said attendance link in the chat box. Please mark your attendance, and we will meet at 2:30 sharp. So enjoy your lunch.